Last week on the Al Nicoletti Show. Without further ado, let's welcome him to the show, Jeff Weller. Jeff.
Thank you, Al. That was a great intro.
Yeah, thank you.
2022, that's when the mortgage rates started going up. Inflation started coming out. Prices started going up on everything. And so we all have to pivot at that point. Only higher end Airbnbs are doing well now. The lower end Airbnbs, a lot of people have started pivoting in a different direction. And they started pivoting over toward Pad Split.
I've always wondered, what is Pad Split?
Pad Split is a platform specifically for room rentals where the average person stays about 6 to 9 months and they're just renting one room.
Everybody wants to know, why is Jeff succeeding at this versus other people?
I think the reason why I was succeeding at it was because I'm investing in it too. When I'm looking at different loan products for my clients, I'm looking at that for myself too, because I wouldn't want to put them in something that I wouldn't put myself in.
How do you identify whether that property you're interested in qualifies to be a Pad Split property?
I always encourage people to look at your zoning laws, make sure you're not breaking any zoning laws. That's my legal disclaimer again. But I'm not offering any legal advice on this show, so please make that put that in my footnote there.
Yeah, me neither. I'm not making any legal advice. So
I actually had a meeting with the CEO of Pad Split this past week, and I asked him, I'm like, how do you stay on the front page? How do you stay on the top when you're trying to rent these properties? And he's like, don't worry about it. When you're on Google, you want to be on the top page. On Pad Split, people click on the map and they're like, okay, I work here, so I want to live within 5 miles of this radius. He said, so it doesn't matter if you're at the top or you're at the bottom. They're looking at the map.
So here is the t-shirt. Ooh. Look at that.
I may have room to grow.
And there it is.
Very nice.
Just for you.
I love the microphone. It's great.
Yeah, thank you. That's a secondary logo. We made two logos. I don't know if we ever told anybody that.
Most successful companies have at least 2 logos. Like FedEx, Coca-Cola, multiple companies.
Anytime you have coffee and you're sitting around, you'll think, wait a second, I was on the Al Nicoletti Show.
Yes, I will. Thank you. I love it. I appreciate it. Well, then let me do the same for you. This is my book. It's on Amazon.
Wow.
It's WTF is a Mortgage.
Look at this. Look at this, everybody. WTF is a Mortgage. I didn't even know you wrote a book. How can people get in touch with you if they're interested in getting that kind of loan for a Pad Split?
So I got this giant light and a bat signal that goes outside. No, I'm joking.
It's got Jeff's face on it. What a great episode last week with Jeff Weller. I had so much fun, and we talked about whether it was Airbnbs and Pad Split loans or just the concept of Pad Split. I had only heard about that concept recently, the co-living arrangement, and how it's helping a lot of investors cash flow and what you could do with your current Airbnbs and maybe get into that. If you missed any of that episode with Jeff, you want to check that out. And if you missed any of these episodes, you can check us out on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, all over the social platforms. And of course, iTunes and Spotify, Google Play, and Audible. I always miss those. You definitely want to check that out. Scan the QR code. You'll see it up there. And you don't want to miss another amazing episode on the Al Nicoletti Show with 2 great guests, Jenn and Joe Delle Fave. It's going to be amazing with the content they're going to drop. And we're going to talk about everything from marketing strategies, secret sauce strategies, case studies, and crazy stories that pop up with stuff all the time. So I really want to jump in. I got my pen ready, got my paper ready. You know that, right? Everybody knows. You take notes. You want to learn the most you can from an episode and really manifest it. Take notes, ask questions. We love when the guests interact. And I'm ready to rock and roll. So let's rock this thing. Hey, everybody. My name is Al Nicoletti. I'm an attorney here in Florida, and welcome to the Al Nicoletti Show, where I bring on real estate super investors, rising rock stars, movers and shakers, and leaders of clubs in their communities that educate, entertain, and inspire all things on Florida real estate, and always bring in the best experts in the industry on how you can take your company to the next level. I got to say, if you missed any of last week's episode with Jeff Weller, you want to check that out. Pad Splits, Airbnbs, loans, you name it. We are always bringing guests. And if you're listening on iTunes and Spotify, just know that the show goes live every Wednesday at 9 p.m. And we do a full interactive session. You can drop comments. You can ask questions. This is where it really comes into play. If you really want to apply yourself and take your business to the next level, and especially get into real estate, you want to interact. So we love the listeners on iTunes and Spotify and Google Play. Feel free to jump in anytime. On my show today, I got a power couple. I love these two. You know, when it comes to diving into deals and really sharing experiences, I haven't seen a couple like this in a while. Like Jenn and Joe, the way that they love telling stories. They love sharing. They love interacting with other investors. They love collaborating. And I love seeing that. It's not about the competition, but it's the collaborations that you can make within the industry. And I love seeing them in the family mastermind. I love having dinner with them, with Nick Camrata, and seeing everybody at the TII event, which was amazing in itself. And they're going to jump on this episode talking about marketing strategies, stories, crazy case studies. There's so many things that they've been through that I know they want to share because it can be so applicable to you in your business, especially if you're in real estate. So without further ado, let's welcome them to the show. Jenn and Joe Delle Fave, what's going on?
Hi, Al.
What is happening?
It's happening. We did it. You're
That's
on.
What an introduction, guys.
Yeah,
Holy cow, that was
so
awesome.
excited to be here.
Thank you. I always save my energy and bring my best energy at 9 p.m. on a Wednesday night. So, we're here. We're ready to let it rip. I got to say, you all are recent transplants to Florida. I mean, you weren't here. You're not natives. I love to hear the whole story if you can. I mean, it doesn't have to be that long, but like, where were you before this? Like, how did it all happen for you before you got to Florida?
Oh my gosh. Well, the Florida thing I have to take credit for, honestly. I was like, I knew if we got down here for a little bit of time, it would just take just enough to get him to say, okay, I'm done with the snow. Being from upstate New York, where it is cold, gray, and awful most months, Florida sun, we just knew we'd thrive down here. But it's because of real estate that we were able to honestly work from anywhere, live anywhere. And that I owe to my husband.
Joe.
Yeah, well, we had a job when we first met, and it was 2008 when we met years ago. Jenn was a teacher. I worked at a car dealership, and we were buying houses, and we didn't know that the term was BRRRR, but that's what we were doing, buying these junkers, fix them up, refinance, rent them out, yada yada. So, but then in 2016, one of my friends at the bank says, Joe, like, we're going to cut you off once you get to 10 mortgages, so you need to figure something else out. So one of our favorites is Ron LeGrand, right in Jacksonville.
Oh, yeah.
And we hired one of his coaches, and that's when we learned how to buy real estate with creative finance, seller finance, things like that. And our first deal that we did was $100 down, and we had a 0% mortgage. And that's when we looked at each other like, oh, this is the way. So 2020, Jenn was already walked away from her job because we had little ones, stay-at-home mom. And I was still working at the dealership, just got a big raise. COVID happened and they closed New York. And so we were home, and Jenn's like, okay,
here's our chance. Let's backs are against the wall. Let's do or die. Let's go. And go we did.
So we went full time, walked away from my job, and wow, what a ride it's been. It's been really great. So
crazy.
Working from home, these long winters in upstate New York were dragging. So that's when we came for a vacation to stay a month down here in an Airbnb close to the beach. It was amazing.
You watch one Gulf sunset. I don't know how you leave and like don't go.
Oh, yeah. Once you see it the first time, you don't want to leave.
Yeah, because we're just south of like Tampa, we're in Bradenton, so Tampa, Sarasota area.
Mm-hmm.
And so 1 month Airbnb turned into 3, and we sold our house in New York, stayed down here,
packed the pod, and moved on down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, wait a second. So, car salesman, former car salesman.
I was in finance, but
okay.
I did sales for a couple of years in the beginning.
Okay, but here's the interesting point: is that you went from doing that to now doing things where you're talking to sellers, you're on the phone, you're trying to make deals happen. So it's like cake compared to probably what you were doing before. Like, but you're able to take something that you were doing before, apply it now, and it becomes just another system, another way of moving forward on deals. I just think that it's interesting seeing what people did before and applying it to now.
Well, everything translates from what we used to do at our old job. And really what it was is, we looked at a car versus a house, but it was still price, payment, interest rates, all the things. So I always loved real estate. I was in real estate before I was in the car business.
Yeah.
But so when doing both, I don't know, we just fell in love with this creative stuff and buying houses that way. And that's what was the ability to walk away from my job, because I no longer needed a W-2 to qualify for another mortgage. We were buying them without having to do that.
Right.
And then we learned how to do it virtually.
Yeah, that was a game changer.
Game changer, right? Once you start doing your business virtually, I mean, anything's possible. I see that too. right? Making a law firm virtual has not been an easy task.
Yeah.
But once you do it, you're like, well, I don't want to go anywhere else. I'm sitting outside having coffee this morning, and I'm like, I see all the cars buzzing by. I'm like, good luck for that. I'm not into that.
Yeah.
So what I want to do for this episode is I really want to break down the episode this way. I first want to talk about some of the marketing strategies to get these leads when it comes to the deals that you're doing. Then I want to talk about the strategies that you've been able to implement with these deals. And then I want to go from case studies to the craziest stories. I want to save the wackiest stuff for the end because I read some of the things that you put there and I was thinking, what is this? Yeah.
Well, if you're on
It's
Flirt
all real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But like, think about how many investors come across that on a normal day, like every day.
Yeah.
You know, I get calls where investors will say, hey, I got this wacky deal where this person's inside the property, don't know what to do, can't find this one. So we'll get into that. I got to know about these Facebook marketing free leads, right? Tell us about that. Like, why is that a great strategy when it comes to marketing?
So when we first started learning how to generate off-market leads, you generally learn like what are the least expensive ways to do it. And doing mailers or cold calling, there's a lot of different things. One of the first things we did were cold calling and these things, it was just tough. So then we spent money doing a mailer where you're mailing letters to people where you pull the list and the whole thing, but you'll spend thousands of dollars doing it that way. And it's expensive.
And you may not even get a deal.
And you might not get a deal.
Yeah.
And especially when you're just starting off, because even if you get leads, you might not know how to handle them in the very beginning. So we figured out this Facebook hack years ago that was a game changer. And what we do is, so if I'm looking to buy properties in, say, Cincinnati, Ohio, and I just pop that city in my head. So, but if I'm in Cincinnati, what I would do is I would go under my personal private Facebook page, search bar on the top, and I would type in Cincinnati, Ohio. And then it's asking if you are looking for people, posts, or groups. I'll hit groups. So no, any group in Cincinnati, Ohio will be listed there. I joined them. I just joined all of them. And it could be a garage sale group, yard sale group. I love Cincinnati group, Cincinnati singles. I usually don't get into those, but you never know. There might be somebody shacking up and they want to sell their house.
You never know.
We make those
You
deals.
never know.
But I join all the groups. And then what we do is you go inside of the group. This is the secret sauce right here, guys.
Mhm.
So
Get your pens out.
Elle already warned you to get your pen out. But it's almost verbatim. And we teach it this way, to just do it the same exact way. We go into the group and it's going to ask you, like, what are you selling if it's a buy and sell group, right? And there's a spot where instead of listing something for sale, you could hit discussion right next to it. It says discussion, where you could actually just make a post where you're not having to put something for sale. Because I'm just going to make a post inside this buy and sell group or yard sale group or whatever it is. And the post reads, it says, does anyone have a house for sale that's not market ready? I'm looking to buy one in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Now, before I hit post, I scroll down a little bit and Facebook will let you make a different background. So there's like the heart background, the smiley face emoji. There's even the poop one, right? Whatever. I always pick like a blue. I've been test marketing pink and they really just stick out well. They're bigger. So when somebody's seeing this post, people start either messaging you, DMing you, or they start commenting right on that post. And sometimes you get 0. Sometimes you get 5 or 10. And sometimes one of these groups just really take off and everybody's commenting and you could get dozens, if not, I mean, the record is one of our clients did it and she got 1,100 comments and got 50 leads and 10 of them look to be like deals that she likes.
Whoa.
In one Facebook group. Yeah, one Facebook group. But you got to remember, these Facebook groups have 10, 20, 30, 40. Some of them have 100,000 people in a Facebook group. So my thought process is if they all average, say, 25 to 30,000 on average, some are going to have way more. And I do that 5 days a week. And I post it into 3, 4, 5 of those a day. I'm in front of hundreds of thousands of people for free.
Right.
And I could target whatever market I want super easy by, no, I want to be in Los Angeles. I join Los Angeles Facebook groups. Join. Post my blue ad in there, my yellow ad, orange ad, whatever color you want to make. It's not even an ad because you're not paying for it, but it's kind of an
We
ad.
just call it the ad.
We call it the blue ads. So if you hear us say it, that's what we're experiencing. But once you do that, the thing I love about it too, if we did mail, I had to have a list pulled, send it to the printer, get all the letters, stamp them, drop them in the mailbox, and then wait for somebody to call. That's like
Weeks,
2 weeks. I could join a Facebook group today, post that group today, and be talking with sellers tonight.
I haven't heard about this one yet. That's new.
I will tell you, nobody's doing it this way. Unless you heard it on the Al Nicoletti show.
Yeah. But it's revealed on the Al show.
Right. But the thing is, it works wonders. It's one of our tactics we've been doing for years now.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, we have a lot of folks that we know who have never really paid anything for marketing, and they're generating a ton of off-market leads for free.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these leads, when they reach out to you, some of them have a pretty house for sale and it's market ready, doesn't need any work. Well, if I was a cash buyer, there's not much I could do with that, right? Because cash buyers are looking for fixer-uppers that you get a big discount.
Right.
Well, and we run into those too. But however, with these pretty houses, we've learned how to buy these with creative finance. So I could buy it with, some people hear it called subject to or wraparound mortgages. There's a lot of different technical terms. The big umbrella is called seller financing. So a lot of times sellers we were at the family mastermind. I forgot who was on stage, but they said that 67% of current mortgages have a 4% rate or less.
That's high.
That's a lot of mortgages out there that have a 3, 4, 2% rate.
Yep.
So a lot of these deals that we're finding is where people, it's not that they want to sell, but there's a lot of situations where people need to sell.
Yeah.
And Florida is one of these places. People are transferring for jobs. I moved there. I don't like it. I'm moving back. Or I inherited all the things that happen in Florida. It's a plethora of excitement.
Yeah. Insurance is too high. Now they don't want to keep paying that.
Yep. HOA changed. They're terrified of whatever, because there's all types of stuff down here, right? Hurricanes and alligators and stuff.
So Joe, before you keep going to the alligator route, so are you finding that most of the people on the Facebook groups are receptive to the creative finance route versus direct mail? Like are you getting more of these people that will say, yes, I'm interested in the payment plan versus straight up buy? I'm not talking cash, but I mean, you could do some kind of financing, but they like I'm going to get more over 25 years versus conventional close.
Right. Or, hey, I just bought this house. I have a VA loan on it. I bought it for $400,000. I owe $410 on it. I have it listed at $400,000 and it's not selling and the house is vacant and I've already moved out of town. I've already bought my next house and I have 2 payments that I'm making right now and I can't afford it. And this house is gorgeous and it's vacant.
Interesting. Who would have thought that? So talk about the blue with the pink ad. I saw somebody today post something on their Facebook page and they did a comment on a blue background, or maybe it was a pink background, but either one, it was that plain background. They had like 100 comments, tons of likes. So I see where you're going with that. For some reason, that kind of post, I don't know, maybe the algorithm of Facebook prefers that kind of post, so it really pushes it to everybody's page. But to get that kind of response just from a discussion in a Facebook group and to generate the conversation with the seller from there is a great tip for people. Seems like we're finding out a lot of social media tips with sellers lately, more than just direct mail, cold call, PPC. Like, just seems that tapping into the social network seems to work. Are you also finding out that because you are having a social presence, because you all are doing your micro clips, your coaching calls, any kind of posts that you're putting out there? Because I see Jenn, she's out there all the time. The face right there. Are you finding that that's also enhancing that relationship rapport with the seller?
It definitely helps, and I think that's why we fell right into social media, and that's where we were going right before the pandemic hit, because everybody is on these little things all the time. So why not use them to our advantage and reach as many people as possible? And so even if you haven't had a Facebook page, you can start one today, and you can be successful with this. You definitely need to be patient and season it, and friend people and use it as a social piece. You need to comment and be friendly. But, I always tell people, be the bright, happy ball of sunshine in everyone's lives, because there's so much negativity and drama, which is why most people don't want to be on Facebook. So be the opposite and, get over the mindset and the fears of why you don't want to post on it, and really think about, if you put yourself out there and you share like, hey, like I can help you out of a situation. If you're making 2 mortgage payments and you're like not able to make that next mortgage payment, I'm here for you. Reach out. I'd love to chat more. And you go live and you tell people that, like, you could be an answer to their, problem right there. And that's literally happened to us. So I kind of put myself aside, and I am there to serve others, and really, like, who can I help today? And that's really, the name of the game. And if you don't have a ton of time, just one post a week, if that's all you have, is better than nothing. But if you don't have a social presence these days, like, time to start.
Yeah, more people are doing it. I mean, so many people are also not on Instagram too. I've noticed that a lot. Like, there's a lot of people on Facebook, but Instagram, it's like you can't find anybody on there. There's nobody really playing that route. But having that presence, and you're posting your reels, and have you ever used that to show a seller, hey, we're legit?
Even before reels were a thing, we would go live and we'd share the stories. One of our questions we asked is, why are you selling? And that literally turns into your story. And our favorite story to tell is the accidental landlord, where we helped a seller out who inherited his grandfather's house, and we're able to take over. We made him payments because it was seller financing. And I shared that story on our Facebook. So in the middle of, messaging back and forth, a new seller, he ghosts us for like 10 minutes, and Joe and I are like, oh no, like, what if, what happened? And he comes back, he goes, wow, that's me. I inherited a house. I don't want to rent it out anymore. I've got college kids in there, and it's just like, I'm ready to walk away. Take my payments. So the video spoke for us. There was no convincing. There was no begging for his house. Like, we just shared what we could. And he was like, yeah, let's go. Where do I sign?
Right. And Joe, you're behind the scenes on all this. So you're watching all the back and forth go down, making the deals happen. What do you see on the social side?
Well, when I had my day job, I didn't have Facebook on my phone. I thought it was a distraction. I didn't even have Instagram.
I had to make all of his social media. I mean, let's be honest.
He's
got Facebook and Instagram because of me.
like 3 or 4 years ago. But what really happened is I saw the value. I saw connecting with a lot of folks like Nick Camarada. Like, we became such good friends because I met him on social media. We've done deals together. So speaking of like collaborating, like, we just closed on a deal together on the same lead that we were working. So
that's still a crazy story that we'll dive in on.
I don't know if we owe him dinner or he owes us dinner. Either way, it worked out great for both of us. So we owe each other dinner.
Let me ask you this. Are you going into these deals? Because I see a note here that you made reference to. Are you going into these deals with different strategies in mind? Like, if a seller comes to you and says, oh, they're not interested in creative finance, are you thinking novation? Are you thinking other strategies? Like, what goes through your head when somebody says, no, I'm not interested in dealing with that? I saw you had like the rent to own, that you'll pay full price. Like, there seems to be different thoughts that go through your head.
Yeah. So when we look at a deal, we actually have 10 questions that we ask sellers. It's right on our website. You guys get it for free. It's right on there. But it's the 10 questions our team asks sellers when they come in. The reason why, by the way, I love that blue ad, because it's not another list that's maybe been mailed 5 times already or cold called 10 times. These folks are also reaching out to us, which I feel like you have better conversations when somebody's reaching out to you saying, hey, Al, I have a house for sale, versus you calling them up and I'm driving or I'm at the supermarket. I'm like, who is this? Right. Like, they both work. I just kind of like that way better. But when a seller's reaching out to us and we ask our 10 questions, we ask them if you'd be open to seller financing on 100% of the deals. And if they say yes, no, or maybe, they're still going to probably talk to Lexi, who works for us, who was our acquisitionist. She's fantastic, was our babysitter, and now does this, and she's great. But we want to find out like what their motivations behind it. But if they still say no, we're always going to ask, what will they take for cash? And we look at that. And there's many times where a seller's in a situation and they really will give you a big discount for the speed and convenience that we could work around what they've got going on. So like the deal we did with Nick, and many others. So this form gives us a lot of leads to generate, and some might work better for cash. Some might be open to terms. So having this formula together, if it's a beautiful house turnkey, these cash folks, we're saying no thank you. We could buy all of those deals, and I love them. Same thing goes with the fixer upper. So we could look at both strategies by doing that. And I think that's the key.
That's why we call it the playbook, because it just comes down to the deal. And even if you have like, oh, I'm going to buy it this way, but then you go to the attorneys or the title, and then you're like, oh, let's switch gears here, you know? So it does depend on the deal.
Yeah, I know. Once you hit the title company and they tell you, well, we can't exactly do it that way, it's got to be done this way, it's a bummer, right? But that's why you have other tricks up your sleeve for, wait, how can we get this deal done? How can we make it a win-win-win for the seller, us, and everybody involved, right?
Yeah.
So no, I love seeing those other ideas. Okay, I want to hear about this because you guys did tell it at the dinner table, but it was still, it wasn't closed yet. So the deal with Nick, try to start from the beginning, because this lady was interesting, and I love to hear how it all went down.
Oh, geez. No, I'm thinking of our crazy guy that we just did together. We've done a few deals together.
Yeah, there are a few deals.
Who was the lady? Because I love the story. Who was the lady that went to you and then all of a sudden said, well, I got somebody that wants to offer more. And then they went back to the other person. They said, oh, the other investor wants to offer more. And then you were like, wait a second, what's going on here? And then you found out, I don't know if it was Nick or somebody else, and you were like, this lady's playing games with everybody.
Oh, that's this lady in St. Pete. Jason, who was with us that day, was the title company. We had a lady who said yes to a deal. We write up a seller finance deal, great deal on this condo. We send it to Jason, who owns the title company. And it's like late. Like Jen and I are on the couch watching a movie.
It's a Friday night. Trying to be normal.
Yeah. And we never get to watch movies. So the fact that we were was even kind of strange. And I get a text message from Jason. He's like, I just saw somebody post your deal in a Facebook group. I was like, wait, what? And so I reach out to the guy on Facebook and I'm like, hey, bud, like, you have a deal here, huh? And he's like, yeah, I sure do. We're direct to seller. I was like, interesting. I just signed an agreement with this lady today. And he was like, oh my gosh, we did too. And this lady was like reaching out to everybody and having everybody sign agreements with her. And so she's like freaking out, like wants a $20,000 deposit sent to the title company, which I was like working on the wire, but it's a Friday night. And I don't know why she was so frantic. Well, she says, well, the other guy, lo and behold, was only going to give a $300 deposit. So she liked my deal better, but like, I don't know. That one was crazy. And then the last one, we actually just closed with Nick because we did not close on that.
Yeah, that one went to the other people they signed first.
Yeah,
so
but
we
then
lost that one.
Yeah, but she's still calling me with another property.
Yeah.
But the one we just did with Nick, we actually had a seller reach out, wanted to sell his property, talk to Lexi, love Lexi. He wants a cash offer. This is right in Nick's like almost backyard, Clearwater, Florida. So I send this deal to Nick, the address, and I'm like, hey, what do you think this house is worth? Because it looks like this is a pretty solid deal. And Nick's head blew up. He's like, we're working the same lead right now with this guy, but he won't answer the phone. I was like, well, he's answering our phone calls because he likes Lexi a lot. And so what he did was he was talking to two other investors, and they came up with a little bit higher number than we initially wanted to. But he came back to Lexi once again and says, here's the agreement the other guys gave me. If you can match that price, I'll go with you because I think you guys are awesome. And instead of going back and forth and then Nick trying to get in there and we were fighting against each other in the price, we just collaborated in that deal together. And which was great because it's right close to him. So we bought it. with creative finance. Seller wanted his equity, but we left that loan in place for a month, made one payment. So when we bought it, we just cleaned it up. Really didn't take much. A little bit of paint. I think we serviced the air conditioner, stuff like that. And we put it in the market and sold it. Obviously, we're halves on the deal. And we just finally closed on that like last week.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So, but yeah, it's all types of crazy situations, and it seems like every deal we do with him is always
It's a little
extra
nutty.
It's always a little extra spicy. The same one goes with our lady in oh geez, are you talking about the one on Marco Island? I'm guessing too.
Well, no, I thought the other one was with Nick, but yeah, I was just thinking about the Marco Island one. I wasn't sure if that was the same one that you put on the notes too, on the bottom.
Yeah, that's the
yeah.
one where
that one will go down in
great.
infamy.
because
Yeah.
Nick brings in a buyer on this. We have a house on Marco Island under contract. Lady will only do
Guys,
cash.
get this. So she came in on, we do run sponsored ads, and she came in on a comment and she said 900,000 and it's yours. That was it. She commented on a post on an ad, and if anyone else, didn't take that seriously, but we've trained our team and we take every comment, like treat it like gold, and we asked her the questions, and sure enough, she was dead serious.
So when you put your blue post in these Facebook groups and people comment,
Mm-hmm.
take those comments very seriously, guys. This one, she just wrote 900,000 and it's yours.
You were kind of like, huh, okay, but
900,000
Marco Island, Florida, if you know anything about it,
on the water. I think it was worth about 1.8 million. She's asking 900,000 for it.
ARV was 1.8.
Yeah, on the water, Marco Island, and it had a new boat lift, jet ski lift, the whole nine.
but had
The
like
ranch was
a broken
built-
window.
Yeah, it was-
rain was coming in.
Had one window in the back that was broken. Rain comes in. The lady has been living there for years. She wants to live out in the country. It was like a 2,000 square foot ranch built in like 91.
Did not want to get it market ready. She just wanted to be done. Cash offer. Let me go.
And so Nick's like, hey, I have a buyer who will take this deal. I know somebody. And I was like, okay, well, we could partner up on it. Guys, this is $1 million deal. We had a buyer at like 1.2 million almost.
This story stings, guys.
And Nick's like, oh yeah, the guy will be great. It's somebody that he knows. They've done a lot of business together. Well, 3:30 the day of closing, I get a call from the title company. And the title company is like, hey, your 3:00 appointment never showed for closing. Meanwhile, we got a text from the guy earlier in the day. Oh, he's on the plane flying down. He's going to closing. Then I thought, what kind of crap is that? How many closings have I done where I had to fly anywhere? I mean, they come to my house. I get it notarized right at my kitchen table now. So I should have used that as my first inkling. But our buyer backed out the day of closing.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And on $1 million property. So now the bad part about it is, sure, we could have found another buyer. But my heart was like breaking because the lady who was selling us this house was closing on her house the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
And she needed all of the cash for this house to buy her next house. And those people who were selling her that house were going to be buying their next house with the proceeds from that sale. That was happening 4 times. So it was like all these people sell. And like the schmuck who was going to buy our house doesn't even like let us know. We find out from the title company, he just like doesn't show up, and he even lied to us saying he was flying down. So really, really interesting. I freak out. I call everybody in the world I know. I'm like, hey, would you like a really amazing deal on this property? Good news is you need to have $1 million by tomorrow morning. And about 9:30 at night that day, I found somebody.
Wow.
And he was like, yep, I'll take it. And did. And we did the deal. Still, it was 4th of July weekend. So, of course, like,
we were literally moving, like packing up like everything in our house. So we had 45 days to get back down to Florida. And so it was just chaos. I'm all mad because he's not helping me pack and throw out things. And he's just pacing on the phone, trying to find a buyer, and I even looked at him one time. I was like, just let's give it up, call the seller, say we're sorry. And he's like, no. So talk about like grit, determination, persistence. Like this man embodies that.
Yeah, no kidding. That wasn't the one that was like assigned a couple of times, right?
There was, so here's what I found.
We found out afterward.
This is where I learned what daisy chaining was called. If any of you don't know what that means your buyer is wholesaling that to another buyer who's wholesaling that to another buyer. And there's really like 7 people in a row, and I didn't know this. I thought Nick's guy knew the guy, right? Come lo and behold, there's like 5 guys in between.
Wow.
So it was a whole domino
And
effect.
Nick didn't know.
And Nick didn't know.
Yeah.
But he felt so bad. He was like, bro, are you kidding me right now? And I'm like, do you know anybody who's got $1 million by tomorrow morning?
Oh no, I remember seeing his face. He was talking about it.
Oh my god!
And I try to bust his chops, but no, he's a good guy.
So the
4th
of July, 2022, where any of you are out having a good old time, I was losing hair, and the hair that stayed turned gray like that weekend.
Yeah.
But we did make the deal. Life goes on. Jody Compton, we love you. She loves us.
Yeah.
Life is good.
Love it. Love hearing that. You have so many stories. I mean, I love it. Before we get to more crazy ones, because the Marco Island was crazy. Nunda Boulevard. That was a creative deal. How did you structure this?
So here's like a great case study we just completed from front to back. So I'm glad you're bringing this one up. This is in Rochester, New York. Seller reaches out to us. Guess what, guys? One of our Facebook posts. Does anybody have a house for sale? It's not market ready. This was an underperforming Airbnb. The city of Rochester was cracking down on them for having it as an Airbnb. It's like a 4-story house, beautiful neighborhood, beautiful house, turnkey. It was a lot to clean up every time people were leaving. So the owner reaches out, says, Joe, I bought this property for $250,000. If I get $300,000 for it, I know it's worth more. But if you give me $300,000 for it, I'm in. I said, are you open to seller financing? He says, I sure am. So goody, let's talk. We agreed on a $290 price. We did it with $100 down. We buy the house, but the existing mortgage stayed in his name. And when we bought it, he had a 2.75 interest rate, and his payment with taxes and insurance and everything was $1,700. And we bought it for $290. Now, we did a rent to own. That's our favorite exit strategy. So we buy it on terms, we sell it on terms, but we do a rent to own. And we love rent to own because our renters move in. They gave us a $25,000 non-refundable option deposit. They paid $3,000 a month for rent. So we were cash flowing like $1,200.
Yeah.
Their rent to own price was $400,000, which the house was valued at that all day long. So why do we like that? Because we bought it with $100 down. It was $5,200 in closing costs. We spent $300 hanging up smoke alarms, made a couple payments, put the insurance policy on there. But when we got that $28,000 check when they moved in, which was first month's rent in the $25,000, they rented for a few years and now they bought it. And so this is where you could turn a $100 deposit with just covering some closing costs. And we turned that into a $130,000 profit in 3 years on just one deal, because recently we helped them turn into the homeowner. They finally bought it. They went through the process.
Wow.
We have a really good mortgage person. So they worked out what was broken with the credit. And so it's really, really cool. I know a lot of people say, Joe,
you lost a door.
And I'm like, yep. But
and we did give up an awesome rate, but it was just it all worked out really well.
Yeah.
The interest rate was awesome, but
you help somebody basically sell it. You help somebody that really wouldn't be able to afford it over time. What did you all really net though from it?
$130,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long?
It was almost 3 years to the date when we bought it as to where they cash us out.
That's some serious ROI.
Yeah. And that's why we love these rent to own deals, because we don't get the phone calls of my toilet's plugged or whatever happens. They are responsible for the maintenance, the repairs. We still write off depreciation. We still pay down that loan, even though it's still in that seller's name. So there's so many reasons why I'm into a deal. I've got no money into it because I got that big chunk of money when they moved in. So the little bit of money I came up to up front, I got that back, and then some are profitable. $1,200 a month every month it comes in, and then when they buy it, we got a $88,000 check. Not even a check. They just wire it. But when you look at that, I'm like, well, geez, we got to do a lot more of these deals. So we've had 2 people this year, because we started this process in 2017 when we had a bunch of our single family home rentals. And I hated being an adult babysitter. The phone calls of, oh, the toilet's plugged, the leaky this. Now, if that happens, they go call a plumber or whatever, and they know it and they like it because these folks actually want to own the place. So they take some different approach to it, and they actually have a lot of pride. And then just working with the regular renters who are going to be in there for a year or 2, stain your carpets, put stuff on your walls, and then leave, right? And then they sneak a dog in there, or they tell you they've got a dog and all the place smells like dog. Either way, right? I love dogs, but we know how that goes when you're a landlord.
Correct.
So with that being the case, it's expensive to keep turning that over. With rent to own it, you don't get that.
Yeah. So let me ask you both this question. So let's be real. There's people that are going to be listening to this episode, watching this episode, whether now, later, that may come across a deal that may fit this structure, right? And you both have been through this once, maybe twice, numerous times, right?
Yeah.
Is there something specifically, because you never know, you'll get a JV. Somebody may reach out to you one day and say, hey, Jenn and Joe, I think I got the kind of deal. I don't know. I'd love to partner with you. Is there like something specifically someone's looking at to get a deal like that? Like, are they just looking for the low interest rates? Are they looking for high equity? I mean, what's like a really good checklist for this is a golden deal for this?
I think it comes down to the 4 deal points. You should go over those.
Yeah.
And a high motivation, I would like star that. Like there's got to be a need to sell.
Yeah. So when I talk to some of the sellers who reach out through our Facebook, some of them are just like, well, I'm consider selling my house in 2028, but I want to know what it's worth now. And I'm like, cool. There's this website called Zillow. Go look that up. Right.
Don't say that.
Nicely ish. Right.
What Joe really wants to say though.
I know. But however, what Jenn said, I look at their motivation. That's really, really key for me. If they're super motivated, I love it already. The next step, what does that mean, motivated, right? That doesn't mean I want to sell. That means I need to sell. I have this house and it's empty, or 2 payments, or all the reasons. And there's a ton of them. We just ask, why are you selling? They'll tell you. But the big thing is the 4 deal points. When I buy a house cash, I look at one thing only, and that's the cash price I'm paying. So when I look at creative finance deals, there's 4 things I look at. And the most important one to me is not the price of the house. And that's still the most important one to the seller. So the most important thing to me is, can I get into this deal with very little to no money down? So when I'm talking with the seller, I just flat out say, I typically buy with no money down. Okay. And sometimes they say, okay. Sometimes they say, I need a small down payment. Sometimes they need half down. I don't make those deals. But sometimes they need $3,000 to help them move out. Fine, we could do that, because we also cover closing costs on both sides. So low cost of entry. I want to be into these deals for $5, $10, $20,000 or less, typically.
Right.
Next thing I'm going to look at is, what's my monthly payment? Can I cash flow versus what I could rent for? So I take over a payment of $1,200 and I can rent it for $1,800. Love it. So that's the second most important. The third most important to me is the term length. If they agree to that price, and if they agree to all the terms, but they want to get cashed out in 3 months, that's not going to work for us, right? So a lot of our folks will give us 10, 20, 30 years. Some might want it a little sooner, like 5, but I don't go less than 5. If they want it cashed out in 1 year, I don't do the deal. So number 1, cost of entry. Number 2 is my monthly payment. Can I cash flow? Number 3 is my term length. How long as possible is what I want. And the 4th important thing, but the least important out of the 4, is the price. So for me, what's least important to me out of the 4 is the most important to that seller. So many times, if they feel like they've got their price, they feel happy. But if they gave me a deal on a turnkey, beautiful house with no money down, a 2.5% interest rate, a super low payment, and they say, Joe, I'll give you 20 years until you have to get me cashed out, I'm in love. I'm in love. And I'm looking for We both. This is what we want, are turnkey properties that are cash flowing with super low interest rates. Because right now, the way the market is up, down, nobody really knows what way it's going to go. But if you have a turnkey house that's cash flowing and it has a 2% interest rate, that's gold.
Right. Yeah.
That's gold.
There's
So
a lot of them, like you said.
houses that are 2-3 years old, they're just new builds. And so from that, when you look at these houses now at that price, at an 8% interest rate, it's less expensive to rent it. It's cheaper to rent the house than it is to buy it. So that's why the sellers, when we explain to them, if I buy it at that price and buy it at that rate, I'm going to lose money every month. So the only way I can make this work is if I buy it at that price that you want, but let me take over your old payments so I could get that lower rate and the lower payment. So it works out well for both of us.
Yeah, and we'll figure out terms and the length and all that.
Yeah, and some sellers say no, and some are very receptive to that.
But you just gave us great parameters. Right?
Yeah, that's the big stuff right there.
That's the big key, right? You know, it's great that you get this deal, but like, what exactly is someone looking for if they're going to pick this up? What should they focus on? And basically go back and forth with the seller on this. Hey, it's a win-win for everybody. That's great. Thank you for giving us that.
Absolutely.
So a couple other crazy stories for y'all. Accidentally bought a meth lab property.
Oh, geez, you put that one in there.
What is that?
Okay.
We didn't know.
Did you not do your inspection?
So Jen's sharing all types of good stuff, I guess.
Elle wanted to go there, I guess.
There we go.
I want to go there.
Okay, yeah. So this is the beginning of the pandemic. We buy everything virtually anyways. And this lady reaches out to us, says, my daughter lives in this trailer mobile home that's on this land, manufactured home. On this like 4 acres in upstate New York. And she's going to move out at the end of the month. And I want to sell it. I'm open to you just taking over my payments. No money down. My payment's super low. There you go. You could just have this place. And she gave us 15 years until we had to get it cashed out. So I'm like, let's roll the dice and go do it. It was like, I don't know. It wasn't very much to close on the property, a couple grand. We sent the guys out there to go clean it out. We put in a rent-to-own renter. And this rent-to-own...
Did they not go in the garage? Like, looking back on that, like,
well,
how did they not report?
Because there wasn't like beakers left. The cops took it all.
Oh.
So what happened was we put a rent-to... Oh, it gets better. We put in a rent-to-own person in.
Yeah.
And this rent-to-own lady is not paying. And then she calls me up, like she won't even answer the phone when we call her, but she calls me up freaking out one day because her whole house is surrounded by the state police. And they're looking for the lady who used to live there, her boyfriend, because
the daughter.
I can't even say allegedly, because according to the police, they were making meth in the garage. He gets arrested for making meth in the garage. And I don't know if he skipped out on court, and this was the last known address. So this lady's like at home, not paying us rent. House gets surrounded by the state police, and like, where's Jason? And she's like, I don't know who Jason is, or whatever the guy's name was. I don't know. And like, there used to be a meth lab in the garage, and now
again, I think it was a Friday night. We get this call. I'm like, what on earth?
Yeah, she's freaking out. And I'm like, well, you better pay their rent, or if not, they're gonna be back, right?
Yeah.
They'll be back and getting you out. Talk about just distressed properties.
Oh yeah, and then she left it worse condition when she left.
Believe that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So there's always something that happens with real estate. I will tell you that the one in Florida, the lady stole this guy's house.
Yeah, you put that here too. Lady stole a house, claimed the owner was dead, but he was not.
Yeah.
What?
So,
like this one, I thought I've seen it in the firm.
So, we're gonna have a book that I think will eventually come out, and this is gonna be like, don't let the palm trees fool you, because like some of the stuff that happens.
Florida is wild.
So this is in Florida.
I love the title. That should be the title of the book.
Oh yeah, don't let the palm trees fool you.
Oh yeah,
I've already been thinking about it. It's gonna be a bestseller. So this lady sees our ad, messages, and she's like, "Hey, little Granny. Granny has been with this guy for a long time, not married. They're good friends. They're from up north. And for the last 17 years, during the winter, they come down to their winter home and they spend all winter here. Well, John was getting sick. So John quick claimed the deed to this lady, to the house to her. And then John passed away just a few months after that. And now here she is, the first winter down here without John. It's bringing back way too many memories. The place needs a bunch of work. She can't do it. She's like, I got to get rid of this place. The memories are just bad. It needs work. I'm too old to be doing this kind of stuff anyways. She was like, I want $100,000 for it. And I'm like, well, geez, this thing's worth like $275 all fixed up. It's like 1,000 square foot block home. I'm like, even if my calculations in it needs everything, that's good enough for me because I still see this is going to be a huge moneymaker. So we write it up sight unseen. Sight unseen. We write up the deal. We have that under contract. We send it to the title company. Title company's doing their thing. We've looked it up on public record and she's the owner. Okay, all checks out. Some young lady that works on our team was sharing this into other random Facebook groups saying, hey, do we have any buyers looking for this deal? Because we're going to wholesale the deal. We had a lot of other deals going on at that time. So that was going to be one we're going to wholesale. So she says a local investor reaches out to her and says, hey, I know this house. How did you guys get this under contract? I've been talking to John for years about selling it. She's like, oh, John died and he gave the house to this lady. Now she's selling it. And he's like, no, John's not dead.
Oh my gosh.
And Courtney's like, no, he is dead. And now this lady owns it.
Pamela now owns it.
We checked it out on public record and Pam owns the house. Like John is definitely not with us anymore. So long story short, this guy calls John. John's still alive. John calls the police. Police are going to the house. Sheriff calls Joe, me. I got it. I'm talking to the sheriff and she's like, hey, so yeah, I'm at the house right now and I've recognized like all the squatters. So this lady, Pam, broke into this house with all her junky squatter friends, squatted in the place, got mail delivered there, got a quick claim deed, had it forged, fake notary stamp, paid the whatever it is to get it recorded at the county. House is in her name. This guy's back up in Ohio, doesn't even know that there's even this lady, doesn't know who she is, doesn't know that she moved into his house, doesn't know that she's trying to sell us the house. So now what I'm thinking is like, what happens if we went to closing and bought this place and then John finds out like he doesn't even own this house anymore?
Title insurance, yeah.
But I mean, what a nightmare that's going to be, right? This guy's up in Ohio figuring out like, what do you mean I don't own this house anymore? Like, and she's got her money because she doesn't care. They're going to go party it up. So the sheriff says like, hey, I did a walk through the house. Like half of the people here that are squatting, I've already arrested them a number of times for drug issues. And I'm like, so John, is he alive? She's like, oh, I just talked to him. He's alive. I'm like, what the heck? Like this poor little granny who we just thought was in a bad spot. Shyster.
Shyster from Sebring.
Sebring, Florida.
That was a 180 right there.
Oh gosh. I'm feeling like bad for the lady. But meanwhile, I'm like, hey, this is a great deal. And if we buy this place and put 75 into it and it's worth 275, it's $100,000 deal.
And like that could happen. So just because it sounds too good to be true isn't like always the case. But in this, it truly was like cuckoo for Cocoa for Pups or whatever.
Oh, it was.
That was everything from fake death to wild quit claim deed to
forged notary.
Forged to squatters to her probably trying to claim adverse possession at some point. Wanted to make off like a bandit. I mean,
faked it death. I mean, all of it, all in one deal. So
she probably wouldn't have left either. We probably would have had to deal with that too.
Oh yeah,
that is crazy. And how long did it take like for that deal to go down?
It was pretty quick. As soon as, again, power of social media. As soon as we posted that phone was ringing and like, nope, John's still alive. So
wow.
Like
and I think about like if we didn't share that on social media, like
I know,
and that other investor who was local to Sebring says, hey, I just happen to recognize this house and I've been trying to buy it for years. And he told me if he's going to sell it, he'd sell it or give me the first shot. I'm like, oh, well, you missed out here, buddy. Pam's selling it to us now.
Crazy.
Oh, Pam, she is so in trouble. I don't even know what happened to her. We should probably call her.
No, we should not.
Never.
She's probably ready to do it to somebody else, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right? She's probably already getting a forger for the next quitclaim deed.
Yep, she's getting ready. But I mean, when you're a criminal, they don't care. And I hear this is like a common thing. Like people are stealing
That was
plots
the
of land.
second one we had with
reselling.
a fake notary or whatever. We had another deal go backwards because the guy needed his ex-wife to sign, and I think he signed it for her.
And had the neighbor. Oh yeah,
I didn't even write that one down.
and this isn't terribly far from you. Seller's open to seller financing.
Newberry,
Florida.
Okay, Gainesville area. Yeah.
And nice house. And the seller's ex-wife was on the deed, even though he had the court paper saying that she's supposed to be off, but didn't get it off.
Yeah.
So we need her signature. This lady is as wacky as he is. So we're reaching out. She's pretending it's not her, and then sending us like the middle finger emoji. Oh, it's so colorful. It's great. But all of a sudden he's like, oh yeah, I got her to sign it. I'm like, Todd, you did not get her to sign that. And he's like, oh no, I did. It's notarized and everything. And then I don't know how we found out who the notary is. We called the notary and she's like,
our transaction coordinator.
And she was like, yeah, he just wanted me to notarize something. I don't even know. I did what I was doing. I just put my stamp on it.
That is like, crazy.
Yeah.
What some people are doing out there. I had the time on the show. I would love to tell you the wild deed story that ever since that happened, I'm ready for these cases that come in with these fraudulent quitclaim deeds and wild deeds. And we saw one. It was crazy. They all of a sudden they had a lawyer that showed up at the last minute at the hearing and said, okay, where do we sign? Oh yeah.
Maybe that's what we should do. We should have an episode. You bring out some of your favorite deed stories, and you just let them all loose.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Battle of the deeds.
Be a bestseller.
Yeah. I love it. You guys, this is so great. We could go on for stories and talk about this stuff for hours, I bet, because a lot of these deals, a lot of people think, oh, it's that easy. Go under contract. We're going to go to the title company, closing table and done. But then there's all these nuances that pop up. I even see it in the firm. Believe me. I see it where everybody thinks it's going to be a deal, and then it ends up being like 6 probates, and then there's like 20 heirs. And then what's everybody doing, right? Yeah. So I gotta say, like, it's great to go through these experiences like you both do. That helps others when they get these deals, right? And that it's not all rainbows and unicorns, but it's a grind, it's work, and it's a struggle. It's frustrating, but if you find the right deal with the right terms, it may be worth it.
Well, the frustrating part is when you work with like an attorney or a title company, and one of the people there is like, I've been doing this for 25 years and I've never seen anything like this before.
We've heard that a lot.
I'm like, why does this keep happening to us? Like, right? But at least like, we always want to do the right thing. But
that's why you do it that way.
Yeah.
To be told, hey, this isn't looking
And this
right.
is why we find, just because of the fact is like, if you guys, to look for.
Yeah.
You've seen some stuff, right? So this is why we're huge on just paying the right people to help us make sure we make a good decision on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Well, I got to say, before we wrap it up, I just want to do a quick roll call, see who's been on. Teresa, I love it. Teresa's got it on her calendar. How you doing, Teresa? I hope you're learning a lot. I know she's taking a lot of notes. Viviana said, where can I get a good seller finance agreement?
So in the state of Florida, if you're in Florida, you could use any county one that's approved by like the Realtor and Real Estate Commission or Real Estate Board, whatever it is. They're in every place. So we had a deal done in Florida that we use a standard one that we have. And the attorney looked at it and says, I don't like this one. I've never seen this contract before, and I would prefer it to be on this 32-page contract that's approved in my county. And I look at this and like, mine's 2 pages. This is like not really 32, but 15. And I'm like, that's the worst thing in the world. So you can still use the county. So if you're buying in South Carolina or Florida or wherever that is, find out what one's approved in the county, because most likely the attorneys, they feel more comfortable with those because you've seen this one before quite a bit. So the 6 spots to look over to make sure it's all, everything looks good. If it's a new agreement they haven't seen, now they have to sit there and go line by line to go through it. So I say that's a good choice, and talk to your attorney that you use and see if they've got an agreement that they prefer.
Got it. Perfect. My producer, Mike, he goes, book or sitcom?
Both.
Both. I mean, I think some of these stories are so wild, you got to say them live.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to. You got to talk out loud,
Yeah.
It's like therapy for everybody.
Yeah.
Teresa said, after your daisy chain experiences, have you changed your contacts to be non-assignable or contracts?
No, what we do is we screen. Yes, they are non-assignable. But we also, and that's kind of tricky too, though, because like if I buy a deal, we've got so many LLCs. Like I don't know when to put it, depending on what's happening with the deal, and that happens to us a lot too. So I don't want to say it's necessarily non-assignable because somebody might say I'm buying it, but I'm going to put it in one of my new LLCs. But all I want to make sure is they're the one buying it. So my buyer, we really shake them down.
We vet them
to make sure they're the one buying, that they don't need to sell another property in order to have the funds to buy this property. They don't have another partner. They don't have a money lender. Like all of the things we're going to check off to make sure, like a proof of funds. And if it's in your name, like we want to make sure it is. And if it's in your mom's name, we're talking to mom. Like, hey, do you know you're about to write your son a check for $320,000? Like, cause mom might not know. She's just giving off a retirement account copy, right? So we just check all those boxes to make sure, because buyers are liars and sellers are even worse. Whatever that. So just keep that in mind.
I was ready for the rhyme. Thank you, Teresa. Really appreciate that. Teresa always watches every week and every Wednesday. She's got it on the calendar. I love it.
Aww.
Yay.
So before we wrap it up, how can everybody find you out there? Whether it's your coaching calls, social media pages. I want to make sure that people can get in touch with you so that when they come across a wacky deal, a creative finance, seller finance deal, or maybe a rent to own or a strategy that they don't know what to do on a deal, I want to make sure they get all in touch with you.
Yeah. So I would say if you have that deal and you're like, hey, Joe, like, what do I do with this? Like, call me on my cell phone, 585-207-2240. Call me on my cell phone. And if you're like, hey, I talked to a seller, I think it's a good seller finance deal because the house is blue. And I think blue houses are good for seller financing. Like, we might need more information on that. However, like if you're kind of stumped and they're like definitely motivated, let's get in touch. Because we love to help people and make a bunch of money together. If you're looking to get a hold of us on social media.
Yeah, we're all over. So creativefinanceplaybook.com is our website. And from there, you can find our YouTube channel. We have a podcast. We go live every Tuesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, where we love answering questions and sharing and having awesome guests on there as well. And then social media, Jenn Delle Fave on Instagram, Joseph Delle Fave. And then we also have Facebook. So you just put it in Google and you'll find us.
And if you want to know the 10 questions we ask sellers that our team uses, creativefinanceplaybook.com is on there for free. You can download that script. That's the 10 questions we ask sellers. We kind of like the order of how we've done it. And we do that right through messaging, right when they reach out, because these posts are going to Facebook groups and the good ones we get on the phone with, right? So that's right on there. In our YouTube channel, all of it, same thing, Creative Finance Playbook. We even have a Facebook group where we share a lot of these deals. So if you want to join, more than welcome.
Yeah, love to have you.
Yeah. See, I just want everybody to reach out when they find these crazy, wacky deals.
Yay. Oh, my phone's already ringing.
Yeah, look at that. Perfect. Well, I got to say, what a night. What a lot of great stories, marketing strategies, you name it. I really appreciate you both coming on the show to talk about this. It takes a lot of experience and a frustration to go through this, but this is what it's all about, coming to the table, talking about it. And as I do at the end of my show, I do a segment called Final Words, Final Thoughts. Anything that you haven't talked about that you really want to drive home and share with the audience, some last words of wisdom. I always do this. So final words, final thoughts, Jenn and Joe Delle Fave.
I would say, I'm not trying to be cheesy, but if you have that dream in your heart, like go after it. I always wanted to live in Florida. I didn't know how I was going to get down here, but kind of taking some chances, learning a new thing like real estate. I used to be an English teacher and now here I am building a team, having employees, and now I can coach other people. It really is a dream life, and to be able to homeschool my 2 kids. And so put in the work. It does take a little bit of grind and hustle to get there, but it is 110% worth it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I would say that my biggest thing is about learn what to do but then just take action. I think so many people say, oh, I'm in learning mode, right? I'm watching all the videos and all that. Well, that's a form of procrastination, right? Find out what to do and then just start doing it. And actually by doing it is how you're going to learn how to actually doing is by taking the action, not watching the videos. If you're learning how to ride a bike, you're not going to learn how to ride a bike by watching videos about people riding bikes. Like you're going to do it by getting on and doing it. So that's the real key to success. So in the beginning, I was awful at this stuff. I'm getting better. Hopefully one day I'll be like really darn good. Right. But that's what the whole point of it is, right, guys? It's always working to be that 1% better every day, taking that action and working hard at your craft. And all of a sudden things happen and it's exciting.
I love it. I'm going to leave it there. I think that's great. Thank you both so much for coming on, sharing this stuff. And I'm sure I'm going to see you soon, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I'll either see you on the coaching call or at family or somewhere soon, and keep going, keep getting those deals.
Pleasure. Awesome. Thank you so much for having us. You have the best looking show on.
Absolutely. Great.
Thank you.
Great job. Wonderful audience. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you both. I appreciate that. I'll see you soon.
See you, everybody.
All right, take care. All right, everybody. Another episode in the books for the Al Nicoletti Show. Jenn and Joe Delle Fave. A lot of stories, a lot of tips and tricks, marketing, case studies, things that can be applicable to your deals that you're finding. If you didn't get to watch the episode, go back, check it out, and listen to some of the experiences that Jenn and Joe have been through. I mean, between the fake death lady and some of the things with the Marco Island property that they went through that I even heard about when we were at dinner. There's so many different experiences people have gone through that you haven't gone through yet that you may come across and you don't know who to go to. And this is why bringing these guests on that they can share the stuff can help you in your deals. So if you missed that, check it out. And of course, scan the QR code on the screen right now. You'll find everything from the show on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. And we love the listeners. We love everybody that's watching, regardless of whatever channel you're listening to this on. We always want the interaction. We always love comments, questions. Feel free to join. Next Wednesday, we're off. And then we'll see you the following Wednesday, the 29th, for the season 4 season finale, and you don't want to miss it. One of the best big banger episodes of the season. I'll see you all then in 2 weeks. Have a great Thanksgiving. Have a great night, everybody. Take care.